Americans for Fair Taxation presents the Weekly Chairman's Report, written by Steve Hayes, president of Americans for Fair Taxation, and recorded by Bob Paxton, a volunteer with the Florida FAIRtax Educational Association. And now, this week's Chairman's Report.
Hello, I'm Bob Paxton with the AFFT Chairman's Report for Friday, February 11th, 2022. FaceTime with the IRS. That's the title of a Wall Street Journal editorial that appeared on February 4th, 2022. The IRS has now admitted that the tax gap, the difference between what's owed and what's actually collected, is now over $1 trillion a year. Now sure, criminals are responsible for some of that evasion, but the main cause is obvious. This is a protest by millions of Americans against the D.C. policies, and this editorial is about an IRS plan to help reduce evasion. The editorial points out that in November, the IRS announced an $86 million partnership with ID.me, a private contractor, to create an improved identification and sign-in process for its website. Taxpayers can currently access their IRS records with a username and password. But starting this summer, anyone who wants to check a child tax credit or look up a quarterly payment will have to provide a good deal of personal data, which could include multiple IDs and personal utility or insurance bills. ID.me will require a face scan, with which it will then verify a person's identity, store it in the database, and then use it for future logins. Now, most people will use their mobile phones to transmit their face scan. In the agency's ID.me project document, there's a line explaining that the agency will also use the mobile phones that submit selfies as a piece of identity evidence, and that geolocation can be gleaned from the mobile network operators in the event an investigation has to be done into a user. 8 months ago, the IRS suffered the biggest privacy breach in its history as ProPublica published years of tax returns on wealthy Americans. Now, those records were either leaked or hacked with the obvious political goal of promoting higher tax rates on the rich. Now, the agency has not explained that data breach, and it simply can't be trusted to safeguard biometric data. If you think tax audits are scary now, wait until the IRS can retroactively track your movements. Now, the tax agency hasn't been clear on whether or how it intends to share its facial and tracking information with other federal or state entities, including law enforcement. IRS Commissioner Charles Reddick has correctly noted that the IRS touches more Americans than any other entity, public or private. Now, let's look at the Wall Street Journal's flawed premise. Like many reporters and pundits who make their living advocating for one side or the other of an issue in D.C., the writer of this editorial starts out with the wrong premise. The first sentence states, "The Internal Revenue Service will always be with us." The editorial then lists many members of Congress on both sides of the political spectrum that are appalled at this breach of the American people's privacy rights. Now, neither the Wall Street Journal editorial writers nor the other members of Congress have considered the obvious solution: eliminate the IRS. Like the robot that's trained to move from point A to point B, running over and pushing aside everything in its way, the IRS is simply trying to carry out its mandate to enforce the income payroll tax laws. Its job is not to protect the taxpayer's privacy. Its job is to collect income payroll taxes. It's just so hypocritical for the sanctimonious politicians in D.C. to protest the excesses of an agency that they've created and from which they demand enforcement of the income payroll tax laws. The politicians' indignant statements remind us of Claude Rains' character, Captain Louis Renault, in the movie Casablanca. When he was closing down Rick's Cafe and Humphrey Bogart demanded to know why, he said, "I'm shocked to find out that gambling is going on here." And immediately after this, an employee hands him his winnings from his own gambling. Now, the truth is that D.C. knows the IRS is right. As long as we maintain the income payroll tax system, the only way to even start slowing down the increasing evasion is to make the IRS much more intrusive and to make it become much more forceful and punitive. That's the reason D.C. was pushing legislation requiring financial institutions to report an unprecedented level of detail about the activities in people's bank accounts to the IRS. Now let's look at the real solution. The real solution to the evasion problem, and the privacy problems as well, is to enact the FAIRtax. The FAIRtax eliminates the need for the IRS altogether, and studies have shown that the FAIRtax will significantly reduce tax evasion. The FAIRtax will be collected by retail sellers of new products and services. It will be enforced by the state sales tax organizations. If you make a retail purchase, you pay the FAIRtax. It doesn't matter how much money you have or how you made it, and it doesn't matter how much or how little activity there is in your bank account. And you'll never have to file an individual income tax return again. Only retail businesses charged with collecting and remitting the FAIRtax will have to file returns, and they will be much simpler than the income tax returns they're filing now. In conclusion, American humorist Will Rogers said, "Well, if you find yourself in a hole, stop digging." Now, that was good advice when Rogers offered it 100 years ago, and it's still good advice today. The country is in a hole. Americans are losing more and more of their freedoms because D.C. is trying to maintain a corrupt and failed income payroll tax system. All D.C. has to do is enact the FAIRtax. This will eliminate the need for the IRS, eliminate the need for individual tax returns, eliminate the advantage that imported goods currently have over products manufactured in the United States, will eliminate the migration of high-paying jobs overseas, and eliminate the practice of selling tax benefits to special interest groups. It will also increase the prosperity of all Americans, increase the fairness in the way that U.S. taxes are collected, increase freedom for U.S. citizens, increase the awareness of the taxpayers as to how much federal tax they're paying and allowing them to determine if they're receiving a fair exchange. Plus, it will provide Americans with their whole paycheck. Take back control of our lives. The next time you hear a politician beat his or her chest about the outrages of the IRS, remember, it's all just for show. They're acting just like Captain Renault in Casablanca, totally insincere. If the people in D.C. really cared about our freedoms, they would enact the FAIRtax. It's time for us to take back control and demand that Congress pass the FAIRtax. So, what can each of us do? We can write letters and make calls to our elected representatives and attend Zoom town hall meetings demanding that if they really want to allow Americans to take back control, the first step is to eliminate the income payroll tax system and enact the FAIRtax. We should all remember Edmund Burke's warning that applies to our efforts to take back control. Nobody made a greater mistake than he who did nothing because he could only do a little. Take back control. Help us pass the FAIRtax. The IRS will be gone and we'll pay our taxes when we make purchases. We, not the ruling class and their minions in D.C., will decide how much federal tax we pay. And we'll know how much tax we're paying because taxes will no longer be hidden from us. They'll be clearly shown on every retail receipt. If you have friends who don't know about the FAIRtax, send them to FAIRtax.org. Have them watch the whiteboards under how it works, and if they agree, ask them to please join us. Then, contact your members of Congress and the President and demand that Congress pass the FAIRtax, the only truly fair tax.
This has been the Weekly Chairman's Report, written by Steve Hayes, President of Americans for Fair Taxation. Check back every week for news and information about the fair tax, and learn why the fair tax should replace our antiquated federal income tax system. If you'd like to receive a copy of the Chairman's Report in your inbox every week, sign up at FAIRtax.org.